Welcome back to my kitchen. Today we are making not only one of the best recipes on my website, but arguably one of the best chocolate chip cookie recipes in the world. They are chocolate chip pudding cookies, and they are so soft and thick in the middle with melty chocolate on top and just a little bit of chew on the outside. So if you love soft and chewy cookies, you are going to love this recipe. We're gonna get started by mixing up all of the dry ingredients. We've got 2 1/4 cups of flour, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. It's really important to measure your flour correctly because in baking you need to be really precise, and the spoon and level method is the most accurate way to measure your flour if you're not weighing it. So to do that, you use a spoon to scoop it out and fill up your measuring cup until it's overflowing, and then take a knife and level it off at the top. I like to put a paper towel down underneath to catch any excess flour so I can easily put it back in the bag. Once you've measured your flour correctly, you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of baking soda and a 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Give this a quick mix and then set this aside to mix the wet ingredients. We're gonna get started with room temperature butter. One of the biggest myths and mistakes that I see people making when they're making cookies is they think that room temp or softened butter actually means like really, really soft butter. And the temperature of your butter is what's going to dictate the consistency of your cookie. So this, if you get anything right, it needs to be the temperature of your butter. And room temp actually just means leaving it out for about an hour before. You don't need to leave it out for 3 hours. It doesn't need to be super soft. You wanna be able to push your finger into it and it'll still feel firm, but it'll leave a little indent when your finger leaves. So you're gonna go in with your room temp butter, and then you're going to do 3/4 of a cup of packed brown sugar. You wanna make sure that you really pack your brown sugar in with a spoon and then measure it out, because that's gonna give you the most accurate measurement of your brown sugar. So 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 of a cup of granulated sugar, and then we're gonna use the creaming method to really whip the butter and the sugar together. It's gonna create little air pockets in the butter, and that's what helps these cookies rise. Do not skip this step. You really need to mix these and cream these together for at least 3 full minutes. The mixture is going to be really light and airy when it's done. Once you've creamed the butter and sugar together, you're going to add 1 package of instant vanilla pudding mix, just the mix itself. Then you're gonna add 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 2 eggs. You're gonna beat that on high for another 2 to 3 minutes. Again, don't skip this step. Introducing that air into the batter is really important. Once you've got that all mixed, you're going to slowly add 1/2 of the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients. You can start your mixer on low so the flour doesn't fly everywhere in your face, and then crank it up a little bit higher to mix it in all the way. Repeat that with the second half of the flour, and your dough should start to feel a little thicker and ready to bake. I've also tested these recipes with vegan butter and gluten-free all-purpose flour, and it works really well. We've got our dough mixed up, so now we're going to take 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips and mix them in. I like to save a few extra for topping at the end. I've got a parchment lined baking sheet, and then we're gonna use 1/4 of a cup, yes, 1/4 of a cup, to scoop out the dough and put it on the baking sheet. One of my favorite secret tips for this cookie dough is to scoop it out, and then instead of rolling it into balls, we're gonna roll it into cones, because it'll bake on top of itself and create a really thick cookie. We're gonna throw these into the oven at 350 degrees for about 10 to 12 minutes. Now everybody's oven is different, so start checking your cookies at 10 minutes. You do not wanna open the oven, you just want to peek in with the light on, because these cookies bake really fast, so anytime you open the oven, you release some of that hot air. So just start checking them at 10 minutes, and they will be done by 12 minutes. You want them extra gooey on the inside and just set on top. While those are baking, I'm gonna get the second batch going. We are going to freeze some of this dough today. At this point, this dough is really freezable. We actually made these cookies as favors for our wedding, and I made these 2 months in advance, so we weren't rushed that week. And when we were ready to bake them, I just pulled them out of the oven, and you can bake them right from frozen. You just put them in the oven for 1 or 2 more minutes longer. So my secret to freezing these is scooping them out and shaping them, putting them on a baking sheet, and then throwing them in the freezer to freeze solid. That way you can put them all in a plastic bag or another container and they don't stick together. The other option is to just bake the entire batch right now. So I've got another cookie sheet with parchment paper. If you have 2 cookie sheets, that's really ideal. That way you can kind of get through your batches quicker. You don't ever want to put cookie dough on a hot cookie sheet because these cookies bake so fast. They'll start baking right when you put them on the cookie sheet, and if they're warm, that just messes up the baking time. These are the perfect chocolate chip cookies. They're a little bit brown on the top, which is exactly what you want. Now I'm gonna let you in on another cookie secret. We are going to make these cookies not just taste beautiful, but look beautiful. So we've got some extra chocolate chip cookies here. We're gonna just, push them right in to the really warm cookies, and it just makes them look really pretty. After you got the chocolate chips on, you're gonna let them cool on the baking sheet for 1 to 2 minutes, just so they're set enough so you can transfer them over to a cooling rack to cool completely. There's nothing left to do but try one of these chocolate chip cookies. They are chewy and crinkly on the outsides, but when you break one open, it's just soft and gooey on the inside, and the melted chocolate chip is just the cherry on top. These stay soft for days, and they will become your new go-to chocolate chip cookie.
My goodness. I need you guys to taste what I'm tasting. It's unreal. You need to make these, and then if you want to keep baking with me, check out these videos. Holy